Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Mike.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Nate.
And today, like I promised my sister, we are giving her Christmas present late for once. Because she got ours early this year.
But it's still Christmas, so it still counts.
Yes, because she wanted an episode on a saint.
Awesome.
Did she? All right. So when you say she wanted an episode on a saint, were we thinking that she wanted like an episode on
So we're
any
gonna tell you today
saint
about John
or
Bosco.
a saint?
A particular saint.
Okay. So what saint are we discussing?
Today we are going to discuss a saint that is known for many things. Being a warrior princess.
Ooh. Xena.
Being Viking. Being really, really exacting on what she does to people who give her bad marriage proposals.
Whoa.
Wow.
That
Okay.
sounds a little terrifying.
I don't know. I think more people need to be. Well, I mean, there's some people who are maybe too exacting on what they want and wanting the wrong thing, but.
And because she is from the eastern half of the world, being equal to an apostle.
Aren't most of their saints equal to the apostles?
I think they have to go out and evangelize to a certain amount.
Like you have to be early to an
Okay.
area?
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of people who are equal to the apostles.
And this fantastic saint's name is.
St Olga of Kiev.
Ooh.
Nice.
Now, you might know where Kiev is, because that's where you get the
I have a general
chicken that's
idea.
filled with stuff.
I do enjoy some chicken Kiev, but
Yes.
Kiev is the capital of the country currently known as Ukraine, formerly known as the Ukraine, and used to be part of the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But now they're independent and under constant threat of invasion.
Yes. But anyway, she is thought to be a Viking because she was under the Kievan Rus, and people aren't 100% sure, but they're like fairly certain that the title Ruse, which is where Russia gets its name, meant rower in Viking, and it was related to the Vikings taking over, because they had a war, and they said, you know what, those guys that are always declaring war should help us decide between the two of us, and they took over, because what do you expect when you answer a bunch of Vikings and be like, come on over.
Seriously. And of course, they'd be rowers because they could sail their long ships on the ocean, but on the winding rivers that lead you, into the Russian interior,
they had to row.
often did have to row. Also, it's fascinating. We think of the Vikings, of course, going west, discovering Iceland, discovering Greenland, but there was actually a significant number of Vikings who served as the personal guard of the Byzantine emperor for many years, because the thought was, well, they're not Greek, so they're not going to be able to be bribed by any of the different Greek factions.
Yeah.
The Varangian Guard.
Well, okay.
Rus.
Kind of
Yes.
like that.
Indeed.
Yeah. She was born sometime between 890 and 9. That cannot be right. I think I did a typo.
She was born sometime in the early 10th century.
Yes.
The late 9th or the early 10th century.
century.
She's born around the year 900, maybe a few years earlier, maybe a few years later.
Yes. In Kievan Rus.
In Kiev, the capital of Kievan Rus.
Well, in a
Well,
small
here
city,
it's Pieskov.
which I couldn't find. It is now this, so I don't know where.
Kievan
Gotcha.
Rus.
Yes,
Gotcha.
she died in Kiev, and we know when she died. It was July 11th, 969.
Nice.
Nice. An excellent month to die in. Especially if you're living in the northern climes of
I don't know. The mosquitoes might be awful where they are.
they might be,
I don't know.
but I mean,
So
it's better than
It's always a good day to be born into eternal life.
yeah.
anyway, she's a patron for widows and converts.
Because she's both.
Yes. And as you could tell by the fact that even though I got I think it was 912 was the year, and somehow I
That
got
seems
the wrong
total.
one.
That seems
That
totally
seems to
likely.
fit in
But
your
even given that, we don't know a lot about her history that we are 100% sure on.
Nope.
But we do have a lot of history that people wrote later that show various interesting things, and that's what we're going to talk about because it's interesting.
in all fairness, finding books that are over 1,000 years old tends to get a little spotty
Not only
as
that,
far as their usefulness. I mean,
not only that, but I mean, she was a royal, and in general, when you would write history, you would focus on the political marriage, conflicts you would have. Just ancient people mostly didn't tell us, or not ancient, but pre-modern people mostly didn't tell us about someone's childhood.
well, and part of the problem is that until writing and the more important part, reading came into being a common thing for like everybody to do, most histories were very matter-of-factual.
Yeah.
Well, the issue for her more is the fact that you have the victors tell the story, so... A lot of historians can be like, okay, we can get this fact out of this entire story, but the rest of it we don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we know she was likely married around age 15.
Totally reasonable age.
Igor, who was the son of another chieftain of Viking heritage, who likely grew up like near her, like his dad died, so her father, whose name was Oleg, was, put in charge of guarding him until, he came of age to rule on his own.
Yep.
So, for the scant records we have, it seemed like for being probably, hey, you're marrying this person, that they liked each other fairly well and stuff,
Always a bonus.
Yep.
We're in an arranged marriage.
Mm-hmm. On her father's death, her husband then became ruler. During that time, a neighboring tribe had been paying the last king tribute, but they stopped because it's this new guy.
Yeah.
We totally think we can take.
You really, when you have a change of power like that, you really need to come on strong from the gate, because otherwise people are going to be like, wait, why are we continuing to do this thing that we did? I mean, the other guy, if we didn't do it, he was going to make us pay anyways. But this guy,
we don't know you. We're not afraid of you.
You certainly don't scare me, sir.
So they had a war that resulted in Igor being killed about the time in which they had a 3-year-old son. So they had been married for a while at the point at which he took charge and stuff. And according to, again, this is the legend part that we can't say is true. They took 2 trees that were like young enough that they're still wobbly.
Yeah.
Bent them together, tied them up between them, and then let the trees go. Therefore, essentially ripping him in 2.
Yes, I've heard that before, and
That's gruesome.
Totally
not a proper Christian way to deal with one's enemies.
It's okay though, because they weren't Christian.
That's fair. I'm just saying.
Yes. So for known facts, we know that Olga ruled as the regent for her son and was the first female ruler for Kievan Russia.
Which, again, just that on itself, super impressive.
Yes. It's largely thought that she was fairly good at running a country and did things like making trading posts, hunting ground, centralizing the rule, and creating a tax system that was the first one for the area.
Nice.
In fairness, this all sounds like something I could expect from a good, strong mom.
And according to some records,
Mom to the whole nation.
She might have done some of this work even when her son was then the ruler.
Well, if he was smart, he'd still keep her on as an advisor.
That's right.
Yes, but
You did you did the job before I did. You probably know more about it than I do.
But now that we got through this is stuff we know, 99% sure. It's the whole reason why anyone knows about St Olga besides, like, I assume people in the area around Kiev, it's a hometown hero type thing.
Sure, yeah.
And that is that her kill numbers might have put St. Moses, the Ethiopian, to shame. Not directly killing, but, masterminding.
Ordering. Oh, yeah. She killed so many people.
So according to this, the prince of the peoples who they were at war with and who may have likely been responsible for the murder of her husband.
So again, she's a big fan of these folks to begin with.
Asked for her hand in marriage. I mean, that guy's got some gumption.
Well, I mean, that is, if you make a peace agreement, the best way to seal it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nevertheless, Olga was going to have none of that.
Yes. According to stories, first a group of about 20 messengers essentially said, hey, our prince killed your husband. Also, will you marry him?
Yeah. Well, but see, from their perspective, it's like, listen, our guy has proven to be the biggest, baddest guy around. You want to be with the biggest, baddest guy around.
He can protect you. He was able to protect you from that other guy you called your husband.
You'd much rather be his wife than be his enemy.
Exactly.
So she said, you know what? I need you to come back tomorrow so I have time to think about it.
Yeah.
But when you come back tomorrow, you will get the fanfare. Like, we will literally carry your boats from the, river into the city for you, so you don't even have to touch the ground. So during the night, they then had a bunch of people dig a giant trench, say, boat-sized trench. So the people, the next day, picked up the boats and dropped them in the trench and then buried them alive.
Huh. The whole bunch of them.
Now, this is the one that's most likely to have happened because a lot of ones base it on, well, news traveled slow back then.
Yeah.
But we're not talking great distances. We're talking a couple of days travel. So it probably was something that, she might have been able to get this done. But the rest of it is mostly probably meant.
It gets a little fantastical.
Yes. Because next she then asked for the, essentially the minor rulers of his land to come and escort her to his, place of his capital, so that she had a proper.
Seems like something you do. That way she's got a proper parade going, and people to go and make sure that nothing bad should happen to her along the way.
Well, and sealing the alliance between herself and their chieftain, all of them get to be in on it.
Yeah,
so nobody's excluded.
Yeah, no, this sounds like good, solid diplomacy here. So what happened next?
Well, according to the story, she insisted that they all smelt horrible from their ride, and therefore they should all take a bath in a bathhouse, which was then promptly locked and set on fire.
Okay. That's some cold stuff.
Yes, and according to the legends, the other prince still has no idea where his 20, messengers.
What happened to my messengers?
What
happened to all my
feudal
nobles?
lords, went. So
notice she's dividing and conquering. She's systematically taking away his support structure.
Yes. So then the next ruse was, well, your capital is where my husband was killed, so we need to have a funeral feast in honor of him, because at the time everyone involved in the story was not Christian, so they were, that was a big thing. And so he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
That makes sense. Your husband's dead. We should send him on to the afterlife.
Seems legit.
So they had a party outside the walled gates of the city, in which all the people that were from the city got rip-roaring drunk. Meanwhile, her and her guards and military all, didn't drink. So with the point at which they were completely blotto, they then just murdered them all.
Note, as a general rule, one should not make a point of letting down their guard when they are around people who 5 minutes ago were their enemy.
Yeah. So then, according to the storyline, for plot points as far as I can tell, she's not allowed to declare war because she's a female and she's acting for her son. So her son has to declare war. So she possibly put him up on a horse, gave him a spear, and when he basically dropped it, because this is maybe like a 4-year-old, he's like, "All right, the king declared war," and went and laid siege to the city for a year.
I like the fact that she's making sure her legal I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
No. This one right here. After a year-long siege, arranged for peace, asking that each house give her 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, apparently
I'm sure you heard about the World War II attempt to do the same thing.
Apparently she attached burning sulfur to the birds, so when they flew home, they would set all the houses on fire. It's the bombing of Dresden all over again.
She didn't just burn a bathhouse. She burned the whole city.
Yes, the bat bombs. But I'm just saying, she set the whole city on fire.
And then, the escaping people were either killed or made into slaves.
Yeah. Were the dead envy the living?
But again,
the living envy the dead. Oh.
These are all her wild adventures in not getting married to the guy that killed my husband.
I mean, in fairness, he had some real gumption to go and ask the woman whose wife he just killed, "Hey, want to be my wife instead?"
The husband he just goes,
What I would say in fairness is, if she hadn't done it to them, they would have been perfectly happy to do it to someone else.
That's fair.
These were not good guys.
No.
They were all Vikings.
Yeah, they were all Vikings, including her.
Which I'm taking in the more modern sense of not just everyone who lived there, but the actual people who went out and did raiding and stuff.
who went a Viking.
Yeah.
Nothing against, medieval Swedes, but the people who went a Viking.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, in the
950s?
In the 950s, at this point, her son's old enough that he's the ruler.
Yes.
And she ends up going and visiting Constantinople to visit the emperor.
Sure. At this point in time, it is the greatest city in the whole world.
And he is one of the most powerful people in the known world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she then... It seems to be that she already knew some about the Christian faith, but she was, taught it by the patriarch of Constantinople,
nice.
Along with the emperor. And she was either baptized in 957 in Constantinople or around 955 in Kiev. In either case, she took a baptismal name of Helena, possibly after St. Helen, possibly to go and, win some moves with Constantinople because that was, a name of people there.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, and for all we know, she was baptized both. She was baptized in Kiev and then conditionally baptized in Constantinople.
Yes.
Oh, look, I can be baptized by the ecumenical patriarch. Woo!
Well, according to some legends, she was actually baptized by the emperor with, the patriarch looking on, officially approving it, because she caught wind that the emperor wanted to marry her. So,
hopefully this will turn out better than it did for the last guy who wanted to marry her.
The emperor lived through this.
How many other people lived through this is the real question.
As far as I know, all the people lived through this encounter. Now,
she's becoming a Christian. Her killing days are behind her.
Now, this is also probably made up afterwards as a fun note because, according to historians, he already had a wife at the time.
Yeah. Well, when you're emperor.
Yes, but so...
And the ecumenical patriarch approves of everything you do.
So she got baptized, possibly by the emperor, who then was like, well, now that you are a Christian and, a princess, do you want to, become my queen? At which point her response is, you're my godfather. That would be wrong.
Boom. Good answer.
That is a good
answer. Because if you just told him, oh, you're already married, you'd be like, no, don't worry, we'll send her off to a nunnery. It'll be fine.
I'm only in 2. I get 2 more. I'm good. But yes.
Yeah, no, you're my godfather. That's messed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, because even the patriarch's like, I'm sorry, the rules state you can't marry your own godfather.
Boom. Olga, normally the smartest one in the room.
Now, after she converted, she did do things that got her, the title of being saint, besides just everyone looked at it and said, well, if she said, I want to be saint, we're not going to tell her no.
There are lots of kings and queens who are Christians, who built churches, who are not saints.
Yes.
Apparently, after her return to her home, her son, while refusing to be Christian, did go and say that, but if anybody else wants to be Christian, that's their choice.
Yes. He was essentially, a Viking warlord. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm going to look weak if I convert. I'm going to make it so it's completely legal for anyone else, but I'm not going to. And she also built churches. She asked for priests and bishops to come to the land. Apparently, she also, in one of those moves that seems totally on point for her at this point, asked the Holy Roman Emperor for bishops because it was before the Great Schism, but the two, East and West were still pretty separate. So, everyone there was from Byzantium.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is she essentially tried to bring in some Roman bishops in order to get the Orthodox bishops that
motivated.
She already had. Be like, no, we need to make all these people Byzantine Christian.
If you guys can't do this, don't worry. I can bring in plenty of German guys.
Yep.
They'll come in. They'll get this squared away.
Again, she's very good. She's very good.
And her grandson was actually the one who officially adopted Christianity.
Saint Vladimir the Great.
Yes, in 988. And it's one of those things, because we know so little about her life, I also know so little about, how she became a saint for, in the West.
Sure.
Because she became officially a saint in the Russian Orthodox Church in 1547. So that was long after the Great Schism. So even though at the time she lived, she was instantly declared a saint, we'd all be like, well, she's a saint.
Popular acclamation, that's how it was done back then. Well, but most likely because most of the Eastern churches were at one point in schism, and then they broke away from the various Orthodox and came back into communion with Rome. So most likely she was a saint throughout the Orthodox, and then when they all became...
the Byzantine Catholic Church came back.
Ukrainian Greek, Ruthenian Greek, all these people were Orthodox. Then they came back into communion, and they brought all their saints with them.
Yep.
St. Sergius of Radonez.
At which point they get essentially convalidated.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, even today, unofficially, there's a lot of, Orthodox saints where average Catholic people would be like, under the, if I call my, grandma sainted, I'm fine with them. As there's very few ones who spent their entire time being like, I hate Catholics.
Yeah.
Which would be the only one who would be like, I have some questions on this person.
Look, I love your grandma, but I don't know.
I didn't say my grandma's personally.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was just going to say, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but...
People her grandma would
I expect that just like I can expect, there's probably going to be some purgative time.
So, every one of us is a sinner.
Some of it do it amazingly with complex
Some
plots.
of us.
even some great saints were stone cold murderers. Because there is no sin that cannot be forgiven.
Don't forget St. Moses the Black.
Again, she killed more people than him.
I understand, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But she was
was
at the time considered more justified in her killings.
He was
just an out-and-out robber.
She was manipulative.
Yeah.
The man was a murderer. Okay. He did it with his hands.
She's sitting there ordering people to be burned to death in a bathhouse.
Yeah, but I mean, they weren't good guys.
All right.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that's what Jesus said. It's totally fine to kill bad people. I remember that. Somewhere.
Look, it's in there somewhere, all right?
Kill or be killed. That's what Jesus says.
Forgive the debtor, but some people need to kill him.
I am fairly certain that this is not in anyone's Bible, not even the ones that
Not
have
even
like,
the murderer's Bible.
Yes. Not even the secret books they took out of the Bible people's ones where it's like, yeah, we took that out for a reason.
No,
no matter what you've done in your life, almost certainly not as evil as the pre-Christian Olga of Kiev.
Yes, and I'm just being silly. I know Jesus never said some people need to kill him.
And if you really want to go and prevent a guy from marrying you, get him to be your godfather.
That's a much better plan.
It can be a little tricky in some situations. You really gotta nuance that one. You really gotta nuance that one. But yeah,
it's better than burning down and better than besieging a city for a year and then burning it to the ground.
Definitely better than that. Definitely better than that.
St Olga of Kiev.
Pray for us.
I especially like the fact that apparently even they have a Byzantine rite for Lutherans, and she's a saint of that too.
Yep.
All right. So
I'm like, there's Byzantine Lutherans?
So
there were lots of Lutherans in Poland, and some people are like, listen, I just can't come back to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
So as we've noted, St. Olga was a pretty BA. But I'm sure that there are a number of other saints out there who have really colorful backstories. So go down to the comments below, and maybe you've got a saint with a colorful backstory to share with us. Probably won't compare to St. Olga, but it could. You never know. There might be a saint out there who had a lot more confessing to do when they cross the threshold.
You introduce them to us, and then we'll introduce them to our entire audience.
Exactly. So go down below, share their name and maybe what you know of their story. We'll go and we'll look into it and do an episode sometime down the road.
I know for certain that she is not the only Viking saint.
Yeah. While you're down there, make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe, and the bell next to it so you get notified when new episodes come out. And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.
Although the other Viking saint I know of was known for being incredibly peaceful for being a Viking.
Again, when she was a Christian, she was peaceful.